When we observe the death of people, there is either a calm, quiet acceptance that has been prepared for some time in the being, a death that results after a period of increasing absence of awareness over time, or there is potentially a traumatic event, either with a sudden accidental death, a catastrophe in the external world that engulfed the individual, or else potentially a fatal illness which frequently either comes with intense pain that is almost unbearable, or the individual may take various strong painkiller drugs to dull the pain and be in a more or less sedated state of consciousness. Consider then that for most people, the ability to formulate a strong aspiration, a strong will that can direct the soul into the next birth is very likely not possible, or at least unlikely, without considerable advanced preparation of the being, a deep aspiration that remains fixed and constant through the life experience, including the final time before death. Many people believe that a deathbed wish, a sudden religious thought, for instance, will guide them into their future birth. But this is usually a very transient thought that has little force and will thus be quite impotent in that process. The timing and process of rebirth for most people who have not developed this deep aspiration likely follows the more or less general guidelines set down in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which can be a relatively short time span of as little as 49 days. There is, however, no fixed rule, as a developed, mature conscious soul has more power of direction and even timing. The psychic realm is timeless, so a soul that sojourns there may emerge with no subjective movement of time, while in the external world, the period may be shorter or longer. The deeper mechanisms of rebirth are explained by the Mother. The Mother writes, quote, "For the destiny which follows after death, the last state of consciousness is usually the most important. That is, if at the moment of death one has the intense aspiration to return to continue his work, then the conditions are arranged for it to be done. But, you see, there are all the possibilities for what happens after death. There are people who return in the psychic. You see, I have told you that the outer being is very rarely preserved, so we only speak of the psychic consciousness, which indeed always persists. And then there are people for whom the psychic returns to the psychic domain to assimilate the experience they have had and to prepare their future life. This may take centuries. It depends on the people. The more evolved the psychic is, the nearer it is to complete maturity, the greater the time between the births. There are beings who reincarnate only after 1,000 years, 2,000 years. The closer one is to the beginning of the formation, the closer are the reincarnations, and sometimes even altogether at the lower level, when man is quite near the animal. It goes like this, gesture. That is, it is not unusual for people to reincarnate in the children of their children, like that, something like that, or just in the next generation. But this is always on a very primitive level of evolution. And the psychic being is not very conscious. It is in a state of formation. And as it becomes more developed, the reincarnations, as I said, are at a greater distance from one another. When the psychic being is fully developed, when it no longer needs to return to Earth for its development, when it is absolutely free, it has the choice between no longer coming back to Earth if it finds that its work lies elsewhere, or if it prefers to remain in the pure psychic consciousness without reincarnating. Or else, it can come when it wants, as it wants, where it wants, perfectly consciously. And there are those who have united with forces of a universal order and with entities of the overmind or elsewhere, who remain all the time in the Earth atmosphere and take on bodies successively for the work. This means that the moment the psychic being is completely formed and absolutely free, when it is completely formed, it becomes absolutely free. It can do anything it likes. It depends on what it chooses. Therefore, one can't say, it will be like this, it will be like that. It does exactly what it wants, and it can even announce, that has happened, at the moment of the death of the body, what its next reincarnation will be and what it will do, and already choose what it is going to do. But before this state, which is not very frequent, it depends absolutely on the degree of development of the psychic and the hope formulated by the integral consciousness of the being. There is still the mental, vital, and physical consciousness, united with the psychic consciousness. So at that moment, the moment of death, the moment of leaving the body, it formulates a hope or an aspiration or a will, and usually this decides the future life. End quote. Reference, Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, The Psychic Being, Soul, Its Nature, Mission, and Evolution, Section 4, The Afterlife and Rebirth, pages 137 to 139.